Yeah, looks like recording has started. So, so we were discussing about this CMOS inverter, right? So this is that CMOS inverter. This is the VTC, right? And we have explained it in quite more detail. Why it should be like this, and what will be the transition points, right? So we'll come back to this slide maybe another after 1 or 2 minutes. Okay. Before that, let us revisit a couple of other things that we have done in last classes. For example, we have started with our discussion of the CMOS regarding like how to graphically get the VTC, right? And you have understood from here like in which region, right? In which region which transistor is operating in which mode, and that is necessary for calculating like what are the different points, right? If you want to find what is this VIL, right? VIH, all these points you can only find out if you know what that which are the regions of operation or what are the region of operation of this transistor at that particular point. All right. So we have seen all those things, and then we have also calculated what should be the switching threshold for a CMOS inverter, while the MOSFET consists of are actually long channels. So here we have to use the long channel equations and find. And here we have seen that to get an symmetrical VTC means where the switching threshold will be nearly equal to the VDD by 2, or the midpoint of the supply voltage. For that, what we have to do, we need to have this criteria should be fulfilled, that is Kn and should be equal to Kp, right? So, and after that, we have also seen what will happen if you are not using a long channel, but if you are using a short channel device, and how the characteristics will be different. Okay, some of you have asked regarding like why this quadratic regions is coming and linear region. So I'm not discussing it here in this context. If you are interested, maybe after the class we can discuss it in more detail, like why in these different regions you will have like you will still have some small quadratic region here, even for the short channel case, right? And we have also seen that compared if you just using the long channel and short channel approximation is for example from here. So think about it. Suppose for this suppose if you have a MOSFET which have a particular gate length, right? And which is L, right? For this particular gate length, if you are using the long channel equation, then probably will get an equation or characteristics like this, right? But if you see the actually the short channel case means if you consider the velocity saturation, where beyond this point you cannot increase this VDS, because after that you cannot mobility cannot means you cannot use the mobility at any more. You have to use the velocity, right? Saturation velocity after this point, because beyond this point you are reaching this VSAT. Right. So here the saturation will be bounded like from here due to this velocity saturation. And you can, if you compare between these two, then compare to the long channel approximation, and the current will be bit lower for this short channel devices. And I think that is also quite easy for you to understand, because here this saturation was due to the pinch off saturation, right? And here you can go for a quite up to VDD, but for small channel devices you cannot really go up to here, because the saturation is not due to the pinch up but due to the velocity saturation. So it will saturate much earlier. So the current will saturate much earlier. It will not go until here. And we have also seen how this equation, this current equation will be getting modified in case of this short channel MOSFET. And this is obviously the first order approximation to make our calculation even bit more simpler, right? So we can use this for this course, this simplified approximations. But to take care of this much more detail, the equation becomes then more and more complex. But for our hand calculation, we try to keep the things a bit simplified, so that we can do it quickly, and at the same time that also gives the some physical understanding, okay, of the device. So hereafter, let us come back to the slide where we have started today. So this one is the CMOS inverter and this is the VTC of that. So you know this point. So this here till this till the threshold voltage of this transistor in MOS, you will have an flat characteristics here which is constant VDD. Then it will get down, right? After a certain point, it will fall very sharply. Then again, it will again show this quadratic nature, right? And beyond this point, that is VDD minus mod of this VTHP, the again this transistor will become off, right? So your V out will be now equal to completely discharged and V out will be now connected with this ground, so it will be constant at 0 volt. So you know from this here that below this point this NMOS is off, above this point this PMOS is off. Right, but what is happening in between, particularly in this region? So in this region, both transistors are operating in the saturation region, right? And here one is in saturation, one in the active or triode region. Here, same one in saturation, the other one is in the triode region. So if you consider from this point, and if you really want to see what is the drain current that is flowing through this, if I say like drain current, then obviously the same current has to flow through both this NMOS and PMOS, right? And that is only possible during from when both the transistors are on, that is between these 2 points, right? So here also we can see if you want to plot this drain current, then between this VTHN threshold voltage of this and this point would be that VDD minus this mod of VTHP, right? So between these 2 points we will have some current, and obviously the current will be maximum in this region. So we can see it here, the current is maximum near to this switching threshold, right? And that's how the current will look like for this. So if it has been asked like how the draw the drain current profile characteristics on the same plot in the same VTC, then you should be also able to do the plot, right? One more thing is that you should notice from here that regarding the gain. So gain means if you consider this plot VTC, it is basically the plot of output characteristics versus input characteristics. So if you take a slope at any point, that is basically the gain. It's basically the output by input, right? So if you take the gain, if you try to calculate the gain from here, then obviously between this point where both the transistors are in saturation, the gain will be, then the gain is maximum. As you go from this region, the gain will reduce, the here also gain will reduce, and in this region, both one of the transistor is off, here one of the transistor is off, so no gain. So if you calculate, see from here, no gain, and here also this is the this switching threshold for this inverter, right? So here this gain of this inverter is highest, and if you go towards this point, right, you understand this is this point, right, and this is this point, right? Here the gain will reduce. So the question is it possible to use the CMOS inverter as an analog amplifier? Then obviously you can, you know the answer, right? It is yes, it is possible, but there yeah, you need to means you need to remember a couple of things, that your device or your amplifier is operating gain only in this region, otherwise the gain will decrease a lot, right? So for analog amplifier point of view or analog design point of view, this will be the region of interest for the analog designer, whereas as a digital circuit IC designer, you will never want to operate this inverter, or if you say it is inverter or if you say it's an amplifier, you don't want to use this inverter in this particular region. You always want to operate in either in this region, means in this region or in this region. This will be the region of interest for the digital IC designer, whereas this will be the region of interest for the analog or analog circuit designer, right? If you really you want to use this CMOS inverter as an analog amplifier, right? Okay. Now here one more thing. Uh, regarding the robustness of this CMOS inverter, couple of things we have already discussed. One of the things that we have already discussed is the presence of noise, right? So we have already seen that, you know, if you have introduced noise at one point, particular single source noise, then if you have couple of CMOS inverters, then after passing through each inverter, the noise actually getting reduced, right? And it's possible that after passing through 2 or 3 inverters, the noise is completely getting eliminated. So this CMOS inverter is quite robust in terms of noise, if it is a single source noise, right? But what about the robustness of this CMOS inverter in terms of this VDD? VDD means the supply voltage, right? So what will happen if you decrease the supply voltage or if you increase the supply voltage, right? How the CMOS inverter is going to perform there? Now, regarding this, let me ask you one thing. Do you think that should we decrease this or increase this VDD? Or what should be our goal if you think from the power
Changing VDD
consumption
means
point of view?
changing VDD will constantly change my VTC. So the regions of operation would be changed.
Right, right. But means you want to like to, I mean, you want to have an high VDD or lower VDD? Like which one you will prefer? Less VDD.
Lower VDD.
So obviously from, I think you are considering the power perspective, right? Because you know the power dissipation in this inverter, you know that, right? I am not saying the what is the power dissipation, but it is dependent on VDD. More the VDD, more will be the power dissipation. We will calculate that what is the power dissipation, right? But for the to reduce the power dissipation, the VDD must go down. But the thing is that can we arbitrarily reduce this VDD? Okay, let us see that. So again, for our understanding and our discussion on this scaling of this VDD, which is this one, we have again drawn the same CMOS inverter here, and this is the again the same VTC that we have seen in the last page only, right? So, but for our understanding, what we will do, we will now reduce, like eliminate, right, remove this couple of points. Otherwise, it will be difficult to draw, right? Okay. Now say, suppose this is the case when this VDD is equal to 2.5 volt, right? Say, and the threshold voltage of this NMOS is 0.5 volt, and threshold voltage of PMOS, I am putting it mod, this is also 0.5 volt. Right, so it's fine. So you know that this is 0.5, right, and this is 2.5. So this is 2.5. So this should be now 2, and this is 0.5. So you can find like this VTC, and you can also say like if both this Kn and Kp are same, then this point is expected to be around 1.25, right? Okay. Now, suppose if we reduce it from this 2.5 to 1.5 volt, right? Then what do you think? What will be the shape of the VTC, right? So if this is 2.5, then this is VDD, this is also 2.5 volt, right? This is the same VDD, right? Okay. Now if it is 2.5, then what will happen? The 2.5, so, or if it is 1.5, then you have to take this 1.5. Say this is 1.5. So if this is 1.5 volt, so here also you have to say somewhere, so it is 1 maybe here, right? Here, say here it is 1.5 volt, right? So what will be the VTC? This VTC will be like this, and here it will go like this, right? It will go like this, right? You understand? So from here it is 0.5 threshold, and from here this is also like if it is 1.5, then it is up to 1 volt. So this will be the VTC. So this will work perfectly, work, no issue in that, right? Okay. What about if it is 1 volt? If you reduce to VDD to 1 volt, it's fine. You can all again draw it up to 1 volt, right? Okay. But what will happen if you now reduce it to zero point 0.8 volt? Okay, it's fine. It will still work. Okay, zero point 0.8 volt. But can we reduce it even further? The answer is yes. But before that, we will also see what is there any negative implications, right, of reducing this VDD. Okay. So you see that here this is the VDD which earlier value was 2.5, now we are reducing to 1.5 and further, right? So when it is VDD is 2.5, the power dissipation was more, definitely, right? More VDD, more will be the power dissipation. So when you are reducing from 2.5 to 1.5, definitely the power dissipation is reduced. That is a positive impact on in terms of like power consumption. But this has a detrimental effect in terms of gate delay, right? The gate delay will be significantly increased when you are reducing it from 2.5 to 1.5. Now the question is why it should happen. Okay, I think you can, it is quite easy, you can just think it like this. So this is the capacitor, right? So which it will be either charging or discharging, right? Either charging through the PMOS or discharging through this NMOS. So when it is charging, if it is VDD, no, this if it is VDD, VDD is 2.5, the same VDD will be applied here, right? The same VDD will apply here. So if it is 2.5, it is 2.5. If it is 1.5, then it will be also 1.5. So if you have the higher gate drive, right, if this VGS minus VT is higher, then the current ID, either it is through PMOS or through NMOS, will also be higher, right? So if the current is higher, ID is higher, then the capacitor will take less time to get completely charged, right? Because you can understand it, this capacitance is constant, right? So the amount of charge that it can hold at a particular voltage, that will also constant. So if you are increasing this current value ID, if you are increasing the current value, then this capacitor will get charged quickly. Similarly, if you consider like for discharging case, that will also be the same, right? If the driving capability of this MOS are increasing, these MOSFETs are increasing, then the capacitor will discharge also quickly, right? But if you are reducing this V in or this supply voltage VDD, that means you are going to also impact this VGS, right? So that is in another way impact the delay of this inverter, right? And also one more thing is that when you have reduced the suppose it from 1.4 to even suppose 1 volt, okay, you are now more prone to the noise, right? Because now it is 1 volt, so your noise margin has reduced, all this, you know that, right? If this supply voltage has changed, then your noise margin will also will be reduced, right? So if the noise margin has now reduced, then what will happen, this will be now not that reliable in terms of noise, right? So this is some of the negative implications of reducing this VDD, but ideally we want that VDD to be as low as possible, and that is also true in terms of this technology scaling, because with technology scaling, not only the device dimensions have to be reduced, right, but your supply voltage also has to be reduced. Right, we will see that why supply voltage also has to be reduced. But one thing you can easily understand, like suppose when you are scaling the MOSFET, your gate oxide thickness, you think from this point, the gate oxide thickness is reducing, right? For every technology, the gate oxide thickness is reducing. So gate oxide thickness, if the oxide thickness is getting reduced, then the maximum voltage that you can apply across this gate, this across the gate terminal, that is also reducing. So that basically limits the application of this VDD, right? So remember that these negative implications of this VDD. Okay, now the question what we are discussing, see, the threshold voltage for these two MOSFET is 0.5 volt, and this is also minus 0.5 volt. I think I written here this the other way. It should be this VTHP, and it should be in mod, which is this, and this is VTHN. So I can keep it in mod or without mod. It is plus 0.5, and this is minus 0.5. So I have these two means I should have interchanged these two, right, these 2 points. Right, now what will happen if the threshold voltage of this MOSFET are fixed at 0.5, but the supply voltage, suppose if you have reduced this supply voltage VDD from 2.5 to suppose only 0.2 volt. Okay, then what will happen? Will you get this inverter action in that case? Right, the answer is yes, still you will get inverter action. And let me plot the characteristics. So if it is V in and it is V out, and it is this VDD, which is nearly equal to 0.2 volt in this case, and this is also then 0.2 volt, then also you will get one this type shape of VTC. Now you will be a bit surprised, like then how means if we, how this will turn on, like NMOS will turn on or PMOS will turn on. That is because, see, you are thinking from the point of view that below threshold voltage the transistors are always off, means the gate current, when the current flowing through the transistor drain current is equal to 0. But please try to recall that we have also plotted the subthreshold current conductions for this MOSFET. So, and from that we have seen that the current is not 0 below the threshold. So this subthreshold current and okay, will be sufficient to switch the gate between this low and high levels of this, right. But anyway, for our design purpose, we will not go to till this type of design, right, where we have to reduce this VDD beyond below the threshold voltage. Our VDD for all of our design, VDD will be much higher than the threshold voltage of the transistor that we will be using. But for your information, please remember that the subthreshold current will allow this type of inverter to also perform as an to show this type of inverter VTC, even if you reduce this VDD below its threshold voltage of N or threshold voltage of P of this MOSFET, right. Okay, so if this part is clear to you, then let us go back, let us proceed to the next part of our today's discussion, which is the propagation delay, right. This propagation delay is one of the important performance metric of any digital IC. Another important and performance metric is the power, right, that we are not discussing right now, but right now we are focusing on the propagation delay. So what do we mean by this propagation delay? Propagation delay means, suppose if you have a gate, suppose let us say this is the inverter gate, right? This is the inverter gate, and if you change the input, then how quickly the output will change. That is basically the propagation delay, right? Then how quickly this output will change. If you change the input, then how quickly the output will change, right? So, and regarding then, okay, suppose this is the input, this is the output, right? Fine. But let me draw it here in a small way. Suppose this is the input, I am drawing on the same time scale. So this is the time, okay, and this will be the output, right? Now the thing is that how do you measure the propagation delay? Will you measure from here till here, or will you measure from here till here, right? How do you define that? Okay, regarding the definition of this propagation delay, generally it has been assumed that it means it is measured between the 50% of the transition points of inputs and output. 50% of the transition points of inputs and output. Let us see how. What do I mean by this input and output? Suppose we are now plotting this voltage versus time, this waveform, okay, of input signal and output signal. Suppose this cyan color represents the input signal. So you can see the input signal is like this to this inverter, and this green one represents the output signal. So it is expected, right? When this is input is low, output is expected to be high. When the input is becoming in high, the output is expected to be low, like that. So this is basically the inverter. But here, okay, before we go to this part, suppose the supply voltage to this inverter is VDD. Then obviously this level is VDD because this is the voltage level. This is VDD. Okay. Now, if we say this point is the 50% of this VDD or 0.5 of VDD, right? And suppose we are just make a dotted line here, right? Then you can see there is a difference or time gap between this input and this output. So which, if I have to to indicate, let me take the red color to indicate it. See this gap. This gap, there is a gap between this input and output. So input is not changing when input is changing, but output is not following that change instantly, but there is a gap. So this is one propagation delay. We will define more like what type of propagation delay is this one. Similarly, if you see here, when this input is changing from high to low, here you have seen that input is changing from low to high, but here when the input is changing from high to low, then here also you can see there is an delay between this change in input and the change in output, right? So this is another delay, right? So there are two delays, means we can see one when the input is changing from low to high, and the input, and then the input is changing from high to low. Or in other way, you can say there will be like there are two delays when the output is changing from high to low, or the output is changing from low to high, right? Now here in this context, like why we are picking this 0.5 VDD, that is because you try to recall that in CMOS inverter, whenever we have said like CMOS inverter VTC, we have said if this is the VDD, then the logic threshold we have tried to always made it like this, VDD by 2, right? So what is logic threshold? Above it, like above it, right? So this is V in equal to V out. This is V out. This is V in, right? So what is logic threshold? If you consider V in, if this V in just above this point, then the output is expected to be 0, right? If the V in is below this, output is expected to be high, right? So that is the reason, or means that is why this definition of this propagation delay, or you can say this definition of the propagation delay is inspired from this concept, right? Why it is like 50% of VDD. So you understood why 50% of VDD? Because below this it is one level, above this input it is another level. Similarly, this output above this one level, below this one level. Why? Because maybe this output is driving another inverter, right? So this is how the propagation delay is being defined. Now the question is how means what is this two? So the first one is the propagation delay when the output is changing from you see from this high to low. So this is termed or denoted as this TPHL, propagation delay when the output is changing from high to low. And this one, you see, this is the propagation delay when the output is changing from low to high. So this is termed as TPLH. Fine. So I'm not writing explicitly here like what is this TPHL and what is TPLH. So but you understand from here. So considering the change in output, we consider it as TPHL or TPLH. Fine. Okay. So if this part is clear to you, then here you can also guess one more thing, right? If this input, the slope of the change where or that this between this and this region where the input is changing, if the slope of this input signal is changed, then obviously that will also going to impact the output signal, right? So to characterize that, we define two more points, okay, but that is not in terms of this input, but that is in terms of this output. So one point is this one. This is 0.9 of VDD, right? And the other point is this 10% of VDD, right? So when this output is changing, you can see from here, like maybe I will pick another color to show that. See here, right? See this one, when this output is changing from 90% VDD to this 10% VDD, so that is denoted by this TF or fall time. Okay. Similarly, if you take the other one from this output side, where the output is changing from this point to this point, so that is, we say it as a rise time. Right? So you understood this rise time and fall time, okay, for this signal. But generally this rise time and fall time, okay, even though that can impact the output delay, but this matrix is considered as an not attached with a particular gate, but it has been seen as an type of individual matrix in terms of some signal at a particular output level. Okay, but this is not means generally we do not connect this rise time or this fall time with a particular gate. We treat this performance metric differently. Fine. Now we can see that there are basically there are two types of delays here. One is TPHL, one is TPLH, considering when the output is changing from low to high or from high to low, right? And it may be that these two delays are same, and in fact we want that these two delay are to be quite close, right? It may also possible that they are not same depending on the resistances or the capacitances that you may encounter in the path, right? If they are not same, then generally for a particular gate you cannot say like this is the propagation delay or this is the propagation delay, but in that case we define one more term there, that is called the propagation delay for the this particular gate, and which has been defined as an average of these two. So propagation delay is defined as this half of TPHL plus TPLH. Fine. So if you have to ask to find the propagation delay, then you should know this as well as this to find the propagation delay of a particular gate. Okay, right. So I hope this part is clear to you. Okay. So now the thing is that let us try to bit more try to make these things bit more clear in the next slide, and see how can we bit quantify or like how can you quantify these delays, right, in terms of the resistance and the capacitances associated with it. And for that, generally this any digital circuit are often modeled in terms of first order RC network. Right. Just this is an quite, this is an quite crude approximation, but that makes sense because for our understanding, I think we can clearly understand the delay and how and we will get an intuitive feeling, right? How should we approach to make the delay lower or higher? Okay, depending on the case that we are handling. So this, as I mentioned, these digital circuits are often modeled as a first order RC network, and first order RC network you already know. So this is quite a simple network. So this is resistance and this is that capacitor. So this is V out, right? And here this is the input, the V in. So, but for our easy analysis, we will consider that the input is an step input. Remember that. Step input, right? So, and if you want to try to get the analogy with our the CMOS inverter, then you can think of this part like this, like where from this is coming. Fine. So, suppose you fix this V in to a 0 volt, then this PMOS will be on, right? When this PMOS is on, this will behave as an resistor R, right? So it will get charged. So the capacitor will get charged through this, and this is off at that moment. So this is open. So you can now approximate this part with this, right? And then why this we are saying that this is a step input. So here the input means this VDD. We are assuming that the VDD is been applied as a type of step right here. Okay. So in that case, remember that input is step. So this is fixed. So this is input, right? Now we have to see the how the output will change. Okay, let us try to understand it from this graphically, that how the output will change, and let us then we will try to define it. Okay, now tell me how the output is, you expect that how the output will change. So this is 0 till VDD. Okay, so here it is 0 till now this point. So this is the time axis, right? So the up to this time the voltage is VDD is 0. So that means this V in is 0 for this case. So V in is 0, no current will flow till now. But at this moment we have suddenly applied this voltage. So one current will flow through this to try to flow through this capacitor, and capacitor try to get charge. And when the capacitor charge, capacitor cannot charge instantly, but it will take some time. And the charging behavior of this capacitor, is like this, right? If it is the voltage across the capacitor, right, then the capacitor voltage will build gradually with time, isn't it? So that way, if you say then the output voltage, this is, and the voltage across the capacitor is nothing but the output voltage here, then you can say the output voltage will change something like this, and finally it will reach to VDD only, right? Finally it will reach to VDD only, right? But here comes the concept of this propagation delay. See, this is the midpoint now, VDD, right? This is VDD by 2 midpoint, right? So from here till this point, so that means from here till this point, that is the 50% of VDD, this delay will be the propagation delay. I should correct myself. This is not the propagation delay, but it should be the TP, propagation delay, when the output is changing from low to high. Got my point? So if you have, so what we have done, we have tried to approximate this part with a first order RC network, and we have still bit simplified the analysis by assuming that the input is an step input, and from here we are trying to we're trying to calculate what will be this TPLH for this RC network. So that is quite easy. Can you find it? Okay. I think you can find it provided you know what will be the equation of this. So what will be the equation of this? If it is reaching to VDD at a time which is very high, after a very long time, then I think you can write it like this. It is 1 minus
VDD, exponential minus T by RC times VDD.
Right. C by RC into VDD, right? Because finally you can see that with respect to time, you make the time very high, right? Very large, then this part become almost negligible. Then the voltage drop across the capacitor will become around VDD, right? So that way you can see the equation of this, the equation of voltage across, I see this VC. VC will be this, and VC is nothing but here this V out. Here too VC is nothing but V out, right? So let us try to estimate that quickly. This is quite easy. So what we are doing here, that this V out of T is basically this one minus exponential of minus T by RC into VDD, right? And from the definition, and we have to calculate like where this voltage will become VDD by 2, right? So this V out is nothing but now VDD by 2, isn't it? So you can now make it a bit simplified, and finally if you calculate it in terms of T, right, you will get T is equal to ln of 2 into this RC, and this ln of 2, if you can keep it like this, or if you want to just substitute the value of this ln of 2, whose value is 0.69, you will get this of 0.69 RC. So what is this T? This T is nothing but here this TPLH. So TPLH, now see, is can be given in terms of this relation. It is 0.69 of RC, right? Now the provided, what is this R? R is the resistance of this MOSFET, right? We'll see that how to calculate this R value, right? This part is clear. Okay, now you can do the same formula and try to find out when this V out of T has to be equal to 90% of VDD, then what is the time required? Can you quickly do this? When this V out has to reach 90%, what is the time required? T. Please tell me the value.
RCLN10.
CLN10. Can you give me some in terms of some numerical value like this so that we can compare?
2.303.
Yeah. So it is around, it should be around 2.2 into RC, right? So you can see that 50% to reach that it is 0.69 of RC, but to reach to 90% it is 2.2 of RC, right? So just keep an eye on this while also designing any integrated circuit, right? So if you have understood this part, then let us take this example of this RC. Let us take example of this CMOS inverter and try to find what is the propagation delay, because now we have both the transistors, this PMOS as well as the NMOS, which is easy, but let us do that. So I will copy this in the next page. Yeah. So here, so far we have considered only this part, right? Now it is the CMOS. So the propagation delay in case of a CMOS inverter. Right. So here one thing we have seen, like how to take this first order RC approximation and try to find the delay. So from here, we can see that to charge this output voltage or to change the output voltage from this low to high through this from this low to high, that is only possible when this current is flowing like this, right? Charging this capacitor through PMOS. So, and in that case, the voltage is changing from low to high. So we can write then TPLH, that is equal to 0.69 R equivalent of P, right? R equivalent of P into this load resistance CL, right? Similarly, we can also write TPHL. So TPHL means when the capacitor has to discharge, and while discharging it has to discharge to the NMOS. So now it is falling from 1 to 0. So it is high to low. So it is again, it will be 0.69 R equivalent of N into CL, right? So here is the question, like what is this R equivalent P and R equivalent N? So R equivalent P is the equivalent resistance of PMOS, equivalent resistance of PMOS, and this one is the equivalent resistance of this NMOS. Fine. Now, if we are able to calculate these two, then we should be able to find these two terms, right? But we have defined the propagation delay in terms of this TPLH plus TPHL by 2, right, for this inverter. So that way we can also write 0.69 Cl by 2 into R equivalent P plus R equivalent N, isn't it? So this is the will be the propagation delay for an CMOS inverter. Now here CL you should be able to find what is the load resistance. It is the inverter is driving. Other terms are known except these two, C equivalent P and C equivalent N. Now the thing is that how to estimate this equivalent resistance. Again, this you know that when it is charging, when the capacitor is charging through this PMOS or when the capacitor is discharging through this NMOS, right? The voltage across this PMOS and NMOS are continuously changing. So that if you consider that part, then the total calculation would be bit more tricky, but we'll try to even simplify that analysis. What we will do, we'll try to take the average value or average resistance of this PMOS and this average resistance of this NMOS. Okay, so let us start with the average value of this NMOS. Okay, let us now, earlier we have considered this part, right? Now let us now say we are considering the discharging part of this capacitor. So the capacitor is initially charged. Now the capacitor has to discharge and you need to find what is the equivalent resistance for this NMOS. Right. So here we should draw then the circuit what we have discussed. So this is that CL, right, that is discharging through this NMOS, and this NMOS is grounded, and to keep that to make it discharge we have to apply here VDD, right, so that the transistor is on, right. And here this is the output voltage, right, and this output voltage was initially charged, so that means output voltage was initially VDD. Now it has to fall, right. Now the question is, fall till what part? Earlier VDD was earlier V output was VDD. So as per the definition of propagation delay, we would be interested to see the point till VDD by 2. So we have to consider what is the resistance offered by this MOSFET when this output voltage is changing from VDD to this VDD by 2, right? Okay, so this output voltage is this, and here you can see this output voltage is nothing but VDS for this MOSFET, right? Okay, and if we say that the supply voltage, which is VDD, is much greater than the VDSAT. VDSAT means the where the current becomes saturate for a MOSFET in ID VDS characteristics. So let us plot that characteristics. So it is VDS, it is ID. So this is will be the characteristics of this MOSFET for a gate voltage of VDD, because this is now the this is now the VGS, right? VGS is VDD. So suppose for that we have one characteristics which is like this. Maybe I need to do a bit modification here because otherwise I cannot. I will extend it a little bit more. So this is this is VDS. Oh, that became side region writing is a bit off. So okay, I will try to write it here. This is VDS, this axis, and this is ID, right? And say this one is this voltage is this VDD. So if this is VDD, then this point is this VDSAT, right? And we have said like VDD is much higher than this VDSAT, right? And this is also clear from here. Then if this is VDD, then probably VDD by 2 this point is somewhere here, right? And which is corresponding to this point here, right? Okay, here maybe I will slightly modify it again, because here I have not considered the effect of VDS on the ID. So I will slightly make a ramp on this so that you can see a bit effect of VDS on the value of ID. Is not actually completely saturated, but it's slightly increasing with increasing VDS, right? And that is also quite practical nature of a MOSFET, right? Okay. Now think about it when the transistor is in this situation, right? That means here starting condition VDD. So when this is VDD, right? So the voltage drop across this VDS across this transistor is VDD, and the current flowing through this is this value, right? Current value is this one. So the what will be the resistance offered by this? If you simply connect these two and take an inverse slope of this, that will give you the resistance of this MOSFET when it is operating at this point, right? Similarly, when you have considered this VDD by 2 point here, the resistance has now changed, and the resistance can be given by the inverse of the slope of this line, right? And it is continuously changing, right? It will continuously change. But if we take an average of this, just to simplify our calculation, then we can say, like, we can find out the resistance offered by this and the resistance offered by this and make a average of these two value. Then we'll get the average resistance offered by this NMOS for considering the propagation delay. Because for propagation delay, what we are interested in, when this VDD value will change from VDD to VDD by 2 only, right? So to check that, how can you do it? It is quite easy only. So R equivalent, so we are taking the average out, so average of this. So what is the resistance offered by this, right? Or maybe I will take it like this, yeah. So what will be the slope of this? VDD, and suppose here we'll write ID sat. ID sat is this point, right? Into 1 plus lambda VDS, right? You remember this current equation can also be given as ID sat into 1 plus lambda VDS if in the ID has some dependence on the VDS, right? That lambda part, this lambda part, right? Okay, and here for this point VDS is nothing but VDD, so we'll write it here as VDD plus for this point number 2, this is number 1, so this is number 1 and this is number 2. So for number 2 point, that is this point, what will be the resistance? It is VDD by 2. This is the voltage dropped across this two terminal, and the current flowing through is this one, right? What is the current flowing through this? It is VD sat into 1 plus lambda VDD by 2 from here, right? This two only, right? So, and probably VDD is here below. You can use some Taylor series approximation on that and try to make this equation bit more simplified, and in that case maybe I will write the considering the time, I'll write the final expression only. So but you can please try that. So this R equivalent, this can be approximated as this 3/4 VDD by this ID sat into 1 minus 5/6 of lambda VDD. Taylor series expansion. Okay, please try that whether you are getting this expression or not. So here one thing is important, see that R equivalent or the equivalent resistance offered by this NMOS is inversely proportional to ID sat. Now what is this ID sat? ID sat is again proportional to W by L, right? So, and we have also discussed that generally for a fabrication technology, we do not keep the L variable. We keep always the L, the minimum one. So if you keep this L as minimum, then basically ID SAT is proportional to W, right? So R equivalent, then we can easily say R equivalent is inversely proportional to 1 by W, right? So that means if you increase the width of this MOSFET by 2 times, not increase, if you make the width 2 times, then the equivalent resistance offered by this MOSFET will become half, right? If you make the width three times, then the equivalent resistance will decrease by one. Will not decrease. The equivalent resistance will become 1/3, right? So this is an important understanding from here, that when means what is the how you can change the resistance offered by and MOSFET by changing its width. So you can see that there is a direct relation. Now, and also from this we can from here we can also quite easily estimate what would be the value of equivalent resistance by this NMOS. Now the thing is that in CMOS we have both NMOS and PMOS. So far we have discussed about NMOS. What about PMOS? That might be a question in your mind. So please consider that. I am not doing it here, but it will be almost the same thing. But here you have to consider that the VDS, the change in output, will be there is another term you have to consider here, which is VDD. So output is this one, and here this is VDD. So here also if you calculate, you will get the similar expression. Here also you will see that for change in the output voltage from this 0 to VDD by 2, the output voltage of this MOSFET has to change from VDD to VDD by 2. So you can check that. So for PMOS also the similar thing you can use and can find what is the equivalent resistance of this PMOS. So if you know that, then directly by using this expression, this expression, right, you should be able to find what is the propagation delay of an NMOS inverter, right? Here in this context, I would like to just draw one small plot, that is this one. This equivalent resistance, we are now discussing this equivalent resistance of this like NMOS, right? And if you do a simulation of that and try to plot how this how this R equivalent is changing with change in this VDD. Suppose initially the VDD was that we have considered 2.5, right? And here it is 1.25, right? And the threshold voltage is suppose 0.5 volt. Then you will see when you are going a bit higher, means just quite high above this threshold voltage, you will see the line will become like something like this, right? But as you are coming closer to the threshold voltage, of this MOSFET, you will see that there will be a good, significant amount of rise in the equivalent resistance. So this also governs, means, from here also you can understand one thing, that once you have the VDD value which is quite higher than the threshold voltage, then the equivalent resistance offered by the MOSFET is almost independent of VDD, right? But when you are coming closer and closer to the threshold voltage, and even if you want to make the VDD lower than this, then your resistance offered by the transistor will increase drastically, right? So I think it's already 1, right? I wanted to do one more thing today, that is the energy dissipation in the first order RC. Should I do it today or tomorrow? That will take another 5 minutes only.
Sir, tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
We have
Okay.
a lab at 2 p.m.
Okay, Fine. Okay. So we'll start from that energy dissipation in that RC network, just to bit try to understand like what will be the energy dissipation in case of a this RC network, and that will be helpful for us in from when we discuss the power consumption, means the power dissipation perspective, or the power perspective in terms of like design, keeping in mind the power is everything. We have to save the power. Correct. That is low power devices. Huh? Okay then. Thank you.